Hi, I'm Rusty Wise with the Wise News Network, and today I'm going to try to explain the process of the Cherryville Historical Museum sale. Now, the building itself is for sale and not the Historical Museum board or its contents. So making clear, it's just the building, it's not the actual contents. The building is for sale, and it went up for sale basically at the end of January. Well, how I got involved and Wise News Network got involved, we were at the museum filming in December. On December 15th, we were filming segments at the museum. Brian Dalton came in and he explained that maybe this place would be a good restaurant. And I didn't think anything of it. And then Vicky Sperlin and Mr. Patrick O'Leary came in and they were walking around. I still didn't think anything of it. I said, oh, well, and we packed up and left. So back on December 29th, I was back there working on a video screen, and here come Brian Dalton again, and he was meeting with some individuals and showing them the building. And I won't disclose the restaurant owner, but I knew who he was, and I'm like, this is weird. So I asked some city council members, and one said, no, we wouldn't sell it. And then the other one said, yeah, we'll sell it. So I was just confused and didn't think anything about it. And next thing you know, at the end of January, it was presented to the city council $150,000 to sell it or to purchase, the museum. And I think he called everyone off guard. And so going back in December, there was some spatting with the board members, back and forth. There was some personal feelings hurt. There was just some spatting going back and forth with the board members. And of course, we heard all that. As a news organization, we get a lot of information and we have to digest it and make sure we're getting proper information. We vet everything. We just do not put anything out there, or never would we put anything out there that we don't vet as factual. Unfortunately, people are going to social media and expressing their feelings and putting facts out there or they think's factual, and it's not true. So that's why I'm here today to explain kind of the process and kind of what happened with the process. So it all started at the end of January by the city council, the Cherryville, North Carolina City Council, accepting the sale or accepting a bid for $150,000 for the building. And that process has to be upset, or they chose that way to sell the building. And how that process works is you get an offer, and then it's put out to public notice. Now, public notice looks just like this, and the public notice explains what the property is and the amount that has to be upset. Now, one thing about this bid is a little different than a lot of bids that you see in public notice, as you basically, it does say here that a qualifying bid is one that raises the existing offer to an amount not less than whatever the public bid states. And it said bid must also agree to the same commitment to offer the current tenant an alternate location within the city downtown district. Well, the public property, you're dictating where the tenant has to go. And the majority of the population does not have a building where they can move the current tenant. So it says you must do that. It means you must move the tenant. Now, it alienates 99.99% of the public that can actually do that. So as the more we researched, I put a bid in and some others put a bid in, and I did it to further see what was going on, because if nobody was going to bid, it was going to close quickly. It was going to close within 30 days. It was going to close quickly for, $150,000, $175,000. So that stipulating that you have to move a tenant was a little weird. So it's kept going for about 4 months now. And of course, I tried to talk to the city attorney, and I spoke with counsel, and I told them that some things I didn't see that was correct in the public bid. It just didn't look right. Whether it's right or wrong, that's not for me to decide. I'm just giving you facts. So I put a bid in for, finally, it was $263,000. Now, my bid is not me personally. It's one of my entities, Wise Electric Control, Inc., put a bid in. It's not me, it's corporation. It was not me personally, but it was our corporation that put it in. And one of the reasons I did that was to slow the process down a little bit and say, hey, what's going on here? And 6 months ago, I never dreamed I would be bidding on a museum. That's not what I thought I'd be doing. But anyway, the 263 bid was rejected Tuesday of this week. And I don't really know why. We're a little confused on that, because this bid process is public notice, but it's also by state statute 160A-269, which is the upset bid process. And the upset bid process says that within 10 days, any person may raise the bid by not less than 10% of the first $1,000 and 5% of the remainder. Now, the within 10 days means you have a period of time to put in your bid. The upset bid process works if somebody offers an amount for public property, the council says, yeah, we're going to sell it, and then they put it out for public notice in a 10-day block. You have, in that 10-day period, within 10 days, you have a block of time that you can put a bid in. And it keeps going in blocks. Now, at any time during those blocks of time, city council can stop it. They can say, well, we decide not to sell it. That is why there's a public notice process. That is the whole intent of the statute. And the public notice is to let the public know what the amounts are so they can put a bid. So it's blocks of time. You allow bids in those blocks of time. Now, one situation at the beginning was one entity was technically outbidding itself because it set the initial block and kept raising it in that block. So you're actually raising the bid on yourself. All it takes is one upset bid and the process starts over again. That's the statute. That's how it works. One thing that I noticed, as in the public notice sale, is that it states a qualifying higher bid must be accompanied by a deposit in the amount of 5%, and the bid and deposit be made in cash, cashier's check, or a certified check, which is fine. I know some of the bidders had certified checks, but one thing we notice in the public information is the first couple bids by Cherryville Main Street LLC was direct deposits into Palmer Hustetler Jr.'s account, which is the city's attorney, which the deposit was going directly into Palmer's account, which is fine on normal closings, but this being a public property and the city attorney is advising the council, money was going into his account. And I mentioned that to the city manager, and he stated that they figured they were going to close on it, that nobody cared about the museum. And that's a fact. And so they did that, the first couple bids. And then I guess when they found out that it was not going to close quickly, they started depositing the monies into the city of Cherryville's account and giving it to the city clerk as the public notice stated. So they changed the deposit from direct deposit to actually doing what the public notice stated. And as you can see, that is what was done here. Now, there's been a lot of questions on social media. That's the reason I'm doing this, to try to clean it up. There's been friend spatting, and there's just been a lot going on. And my goal, as far as our entity, what our Appendix B said, and I'll read it here to you, as you can see. In lieu of moving current tenant to another location, the buyer will keep existing tenant, the Cherryville Historical Association, which, let me explain to you what that is. The Cherryville Historical Association is who runs the museum. What is for sale is not the Cherryville Historical Association. It's actually the building itself. So I wanted to clarify that. But it reads, in lieu of moving current tenant to another location, the buyer will keep existing tenant, the Cherryville Historical Association, exhibits, fixtures, equipment, and other items as is. Building will stay as the Cherryville Historical Museum. City, the current owner, will have the option to pay for utilities, but not required. Buyer will document deed title for the property to stay as a museum in perpetuity. So that's the appendix that entity, Wise Liquor Control, put in. There's another Appendix B that was put in by Cherryville Main Street LLC. The buyer agrees to offer the current tenant an alternative location within the Cherryville Downtown Historic District, subject to conditions determined by the buyer. So it's very vague. One bidder states exactly what they were going to do. The other bidder, it's vague. And I think the public would like to know exactly what's going to happen to this building. And I understand that, property, anybody can buy property, and really anybody can do anything with the property. But this is public property, and I think the public would like to know exactly what's going on. We don't know what's going on. I'm just stating facts, how the process has been going. The process basically started with a spat with the museum board, and it's turned into selling the museum and moving the museum. And basically, as far as the facts stated, it's basically tailored for one entity. So on Tuesday's council meeting, they rejected all bids, which they have the right to do. But we don't understand, did they reject it off the money, or did they reject it off the terms of having to move the museum? That's the question. We have not yet heard that answer, but they rejected all bids, which is in the paragraph. As you can see in the paragraph, it says, the city reserves the right to withdraw the property from sale at any time before the final high bid is accepted, and the right to reject at any time all bids. Now, that clause tells you that they can stop the process at any time. So you should not put a bid in between blocks of 10 days. Right now, per the city, there is a $400,000 offer on the building. That happened in less than 24 hours from the city council rejecting all bids. Vicky Sperling Realty put in a bid, I guess, on behalf of Cherryville Main Street LLC for $400,000. Now, it would be like me today putting in a bid for $500,000. Also, during the bid process, the public notice stated that it would be taking sealed bids, that the city would be taking sealed bids for the museum property. However, the bids were opened at the beginning. The first process, Wise Electric Control submitted a bid which said sealed, but the city manager opened it anyway on the direction of Palmer Hustetler Jr., the city attorney. So even though the bids said sealed, they were opened. Later in a city council meeting, it was stated that the bidders could present sealed bids or non-sealed bids during the process. That's trying to explain to you, you don't bid outside the 10 days. So they had a valid $263,000 offer that was rejected on council by Palmer Hustetler Jr., which also closes real estate for the other entity and the other real estate company that's involved. So if he was going to close the process, how can you be a city attorney and close for your own client? To me, it may be a conflict of interest. So there you have it. There's the facts. There's a $400,000 offer. Did the council know that there was $400,000 offer before they rejected all bids? Don't know. The reason for this segment is to make sure everyone is versed on the actual proceedings and the details of this bid process, stating the facts. And as you can see, the facts state that there were some inconsistencies during this process. Even on social media, people have been very, very outspoken on one way or the other about this process. Even one contractor that does work for Vicky Sperling Realty and the entity that bid also was fired because of his outspoken Facebook post. So we just want to make sure everybody is aware of the situation so everyone does not get upset over false rumors and that sort of thing. We're here to state the facts for Wise News Network. I really appreciate you tuning in. We have an investigative team that is continually researching the issue and to make sure things are done properly. Thank you for your comments, your tons of comments that have come in, your questions, concerns, your segment ideas, your news ideas. We really appreciate it. And Wise News Network can be found on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Like and share our segments. We want to inform the public. That's the main reason that we're here, is to make sure that we have a local voice in local communities. Thanks and have a great day.